My guest on this episode is Rachel Gold, who has spent more than 30 years styling celebrities and is now helping successful women over 35 reinvent for their next chapter. The conversation today is all about style and identity and what happens when your identity starts to shift and how you can use this to come back to yourself and start to celebrate who you really are as you get older. So, Rachel, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So you've spent years kind of in an industry built around like image and presentation. What have you learned about the difference between how someone looks on the outside and how they actually feel on the inside?
Oh my goodness, super question. Yes, I have been in the entertainment industry for 35 years for my sins. And I must say, one of the big things that I've noticed is that sometimes the most confident person, the one who comes into the room, who has lots to say, who's doing everything, has all got it all going on, they can in fact be the most insecure. Which is an interesting thing because it's almost like a facade that people can put on. And this is where image coaching and mindset, the two of them cross paths, because what we're getting to is what really makes you tick. What is it that makes you want to put yourself out in the public eye as such? Yes, that can be it. Or also, even just for the everyday, I call them extraordinary people. For the everyday person, what is it that makes you decide in the morning, should I put on a pair of dirty Converse trainers? Or should I put on a nice pair of wedges? They might be a little bit more uncomfortable, but which one will I choose? And which one will actually make me feel better? This is the big question.
Is it? So what's the normal answer then to that? What do you get?
Well, I find as women get older, as we go into our over 40s, maybe sometimes younger, over 40s, menopausal, we tend to lose our identity a little bit. And I think that's from having career, having family, perhaps having a partner who maybe they've become slightly invisible, or they've just given everything that they've got to someone else. And so they then forget to look at themselves and to take the time that it actually takes to organize yourself a little bit. And so, therefore, it's kind of like, oh, let's just put this t-shirt on. Oh, that'll be okay. Doesn't matter. And then wandering around all day, bumping into people who you think then, oh, they look so much nicer than me. Why do they look so well put together? And so then you start to create this sort of cycle of really not bothering. Whereas if you'd taken time in the morning, got yourself organized, put something a little nicer on, and then gone out, and someone had said to you, hey, you look nice. The question is, are you in a very heavy menopausal day where you'll think of they're just being horrible or they're just being nice or they're being sarcastic? I don't know what they're doing. Or will you then think, oh, that was nice. Oh, okay, cool. I'll make more of an effort.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because the older I get, the less I care about validation. And I think that has kind of taken me down the route of like, I just can't be asked, I'm just going to be comfortable. But that's not really what you're talking about, is it? This is more about doing it for you and kind of as a form of self-expression and what actually makes you feel good. Because there is definitely a point at which what you wear has an impact on how you feel, right?
Very much so. Very much so. And also, this point of validation, and I don't care what someone else thinks, so therefore I don't need them to look at me and say I look nice. I think it's actually not entirely true because when someone does tell you you look nice, do you then think, oh, I don't care, not interested? That's a big question. I often ask women this. I think this is about self-esteem as well. It's about encouraging yourself to feel and look better. Because if you don't feel that great, if you're hormonal and you're feeling a little bit sort of wobbly and whatever, if you make an effort, make more of an effort, just put the time in, you will reap the rewards of it. I promise that. My 35 years of styling, I have to say, this is always the case. Very rare that you'd find that's not the case.
Okay, and since you've started kind of coaching, what have you learned in terms of like why do we struggle to show up as ourselves? Why do we struggle to occupy our full style identity? Apart
Mm,
from, menopause is something we can talk about because it's massive for
yeah,
women over a certain age.
yeah.
Hate that term, over a certain age. It's just awful, women of a certain age. And now that I am a certain age, I'm just like, shut up.
I've always been of a certain age, and whenever people say to me, "You look really good for your age," I
Uh,
sort of become a little bit like, "Oh, thanks," but I
you
know
can
they're not
just
trying to.
say, like, you look really good. Full
Well,
stop. Yeah.
thank you so much. I mean, look, the thing is, looking really good, it's not hard. It's not hard because getting up in the morning and putting on a pair of earrings, putting a little bit of lippy, and putting on a bright coloured shirt and a little bit of an accessory, that's it, done. So much easier, in my opinion, than putting on a grey t-shirt with some custard down the front and maybe one of the grandkids or someone or a dog has bitten the edge of it, and then you sort of wander around, sort of feeling a little bit messy all day long. What was the question? I've gone off again.
It was, what have you learned about why people struggle to show up as themselves, kind of in their own style and in their own skin?
Okay, what I have learnt is that the majority of people don't take the time to figure out what it is they really want in their lives, what they like, what they don't like, what makes them feel comfortable, what makes them feel uncomfortable. And often we get nervous, we get anxious because there's too much going on. We're taking on too many things. So that actually leaves a big space where actually, if we could just take time to figure out what our core values are. What's core values got to do with the dress in the wardrobe? Everything. Because why did you choose that dress? Does that dress suit you? Do you know your body shape? Do you know the colours that suit you? Do you know whether something fits you well? Do you even know what your bra size is? So these are the questions that I always ask. What makes someone not bother to take the time? You can't tell me that you don't have the time, even when you've got loads of kids and you've got everything going on and you're running a household and you're going to work. You can still take the time. It's just a question of whether or not you want to prioritize that time. So this is all to do, in my opinion, with self-esteem and taking the time and giving yourself a break and being nice to yourself. So again, this can come from childhood. It can come from, perhaps low self-esteem or peer trouble, not having nice girlfriends, not having a nice partner. All of that sort of thing can wear down and chip away at your self-esteem. But if you can just take the time to do these things for yourself, you will really benefit, really benefit.
So, how much of it is kind of about just about our bodies changing, and how much of it is about our relationship with our bodies?
I think the majority of it, this again is do you do you buy the dress, wear that dress and it makes you feel more confident? Or do you feel confident enough to go and buy that dress? Chicken and egg, really chicken and egg. I would say it is probably that the body shape has changed and you haven't changed with it. I would say that that's probably what it is. And it's an education. It's a matter of stopping, caring enough about yourself, taking the time, giving that time to yourself rather than to everybody else. We all do it. Women are really good at that, giving away our power to everyone else, giving everything else to everyone else, and not taking time for ourselves. But if we could only just stop and literally do that, realize that the body shape has changed. So I need to change with that, and then I'll feel better. It's not all lost. It's not all lost. I think the other thing is now with social media, it's really tough. I mean, I've got my Instagram page. I'm always putting on certain dresses, and I keep trying to explain. I'm an hourglass shape, so this dress is going to look great on me, but it might not look good on someone who's an apple shape. I'm not wearing the dress to show them how good I look. I'm wearing the dress to show them how you can make changes, how certain things really can boost you and can make you feel a lot better about yourself. because I think that's what it's really about.
How would you kind of talk to someone then who isn't that happy with the way that their body has changed and it's kind of denting their self-confidence? Like if they don't want to embrace their new body shape.
Hmm. Well, if they don't want to, the question is if they know that that's what's happened, or if they're just thinking, oh God, what's happened? I don't know how to dress anymore and I can't bear all these clothes. The first thing I would be trying to have this conversation about, has it changed? Let's do some measurements. Normally, when I pull up my tape, everyone goes, "Oh no!" So they can go and do it elsewhere, or like in the corner, or whatever. Because this is not a judgment. The first thing is to know what is going on. When you know what's going on, you can do something about it. If you don't like it, that doesn't make it any different. It still exists. Do you see what I mean? So it's not, that's not really the point, whether or not you like it. The point is knowing and really being able and pushing yourself to make that change, to know that, okay, if that's not going to be it and you're going to do something else, what are you going to do? So are you going to go on the jabs? Are you going to start going on a diet? Are you going to go and do some exercise? What are you going to do to get to what you want to do, or how you want to be? And if you're not going to do any of those things, and you probably might start and then you probably won't. So if you're not going to do any of that, get to where you are now. Get to where you are now. Do something about it, because just the doing is the thing that's going to make you feel better. So that's
Yeah.
really important. The other thing is that's really important, I notice with women, particularly when I'm doing quite a big reinvention with them, be careful of who you surround yourself with. Sometimes you have friendships which, just like your wardrobe, they've actually worn themselves out or they've gone in another direction. Doesn't mean the person's bad, doesn't mean you're bad, but maybe it's time to review your friendships, who you're hanging out with. When you see that person, do they make you feel great? Do you make yourself feel great when you're with that person? I've had ladies that I've said, right, okay, come on, we're going to sort this hair out. The hair's all gone in some other way that it doesn't actually suit you anymore. It doesn't bring out the best in you. They've gone and had their hair done, and then their friends have said, oh, that looks awful. Okay, well, that's their opinion. But, you sometimes get people who they're not used to the change in you. They're not used to the attention that you get, and they don't like it. So that's another thing to really be mindful of, that if you are making changes, you really are happy with those changes and you are truly convinced that that is what you should be doing. There's no point me coming along and saying to you, oh, do this, and you going, okay, she said I'll do it, I'll do it, and then thinking, oh no, what happened? So embracing change, knowing that that change is really going to bring the new you, the you that's already there. We're not getting someone else and imprinting them on you. This is all stuff that you have inside. And the more you do it, the more you practice it, even if it's just small steps at the very beginning, you will feel better.
So we've got acceptance, action, and authenticity, basically.
Correct.
Excellent. Okay.
Why did it take so long to get to that?
Well, it all needed saying, didn't it? It's a really good point around about the people you surround yourself with, actually, and how difficult they can, maybe not even intentionally,
Yeah.
make it for you to kind of leave behind comfortable patterns. Because I think we're quite challenged when somebody suddenly shows up in a group looking completely different, aren't we? Because you're just like, oh my God, do I need to do that?
Yeah, yeah, and the point is, this is where we get to this whole do I worry about what other people think about me? Well, it depends who you are. It depends how open you are to criticism, or whether or not you believe them, why they're saying it. Do you believe it? This is the thing. It's about having the courage to change, because there is not one single thing around us that is not changing. And this is what I find so interesting. We struggle with change. We get dragged kicking and screaming into change, but actually everything's changing. So if we can become more flexible with that, if we can become more flexible and realize when someone's staring at you, They may not actually even be thinking about you. You think, oh, they're staring at me because I've got a new blouse on, or I've got this. They're probably not even thinking about that. Or they might actually be thinking, hey, she looks really nice. Or they might not. But what business is that of yours, what they think? It's not for you to decide what someone else thinks, it's for you to decide what you think. And that's the point I think here that is really important. Can you make a change, shift, and be happy and become more yourself as you move into different phases of your life?
Yeah, that's a good point because I think criticism only really lands someone else's like negative judgment if it reflects something you already feel about yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I mean, I grew up with a very bullying older sister who was very beautiful, and so of course, growing up, I always had that. I always had that feeling that I was really quite ugly, that I was a bit odd looking. I had freckles, I had frizzy looking hair. I was very different from everyone else, and so a lot of that carried on into my adulthood. And then as I got older, in lots of respects, I still carried that, and so I had to really be mindful and get myself into the present to say, look, hang on, these are thoughts that I had from years ago, from being teased and that sort of thing. This is not who I am now. It's, just because that's who I was then, I'm not that anymore. That has made me who I am. But actually, that's not the story I'm replaying in my mind now. It's not. I'm aware of it, but whenever I become aware of it, I say, no, that is not what's happening. So I think that's really, this is kind of like in-depth conversations, but this is why I like to include the mindset, the mindfulness with the image, because it's all so interlinked.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Like the
Yeah.
stories that we tell ourselves about who we are reflected
Beautiful.
in every part of our lives.
Yes, very much so. And the difficult things that we have to do to overcome them or to even be aware of them, this is the challenge. And this is one of the things about being older, that if we can just look at it like that and take the joy of it, the fact that we can actually see it now. Whereas when you're young and inexperienced, these are all things, you're young and hormonal instead of older and hormonal. Great. Thanks for that.
Although when you're older and hormonal, you're lacking estrogen, so you're not quite as bothered, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I think it's also, what I've noticed with people who say that they're not bothered, sometimes they really are bothered, and I think that's the thing as well, am I bothered or am I not? And if I don't care anymore, what do I care about? And that again, this is getting back to our core values and back to the things that are important to us. And can we do more of the things that are more important to us now rather than, again, clinging on to the past or, just talking rather than really doing the work?
So, how can changing your style be the first step to changing your relationship with yourself, or is it kind of the outcome?
I think it is all of those things all put together. So look, I'm feeling a certain way at the moment. I'm not feeling great. Things are not really going the way that I want them to. I need to make a change. What can I change? You can easily go into your room, open your closet, open your wardrobe, and you can take everything out, put it all on a rail. You can look at it. You can then also, as I said earlier, go on to, the websites or Google or wherever you're going and have a look at what your body shape is. You can actually do something about that. Now, the fact that you can actually do something about that right now, in this present moment, that already empowers you. I'm not saying to you, go and get £10,000 and go and spend and start going running around the shops or doing, the thing, what do the Instagrammers do? When they do that little kick with their foot, I find it so annoying, they're like that. But you can actually start sorting yourself out. And I think just to make those steps can empower you and can make you feel a lot better about yourself. It's just little steps. It's a little bit like changing your diet. You know, if you say, right, okay, I'm not going to eat those things that I know are bad for me. I'm going to make a few changes and I'm going to see if I feel a little bit better from doing those things. So, really, it's a matter of making small steps to change the way that you look. And because you're changing the way that you look, you will change the way that you feel also. And the fact that you've got the power to do that, you have the power. That's a big thing, I think.
Yeah, I think we forget that we have the power too often.
Yeah, I mean, we're too busy giving it away. You know, I did a post the other day. You know, I was dealing with a particularly difficult client, and actually, it was a guy, but that's nothing to do with whether it's a man or a woman. But it was a guy, and I suddenly thought, you know, I'm noticing a pattern here of getting surrounded by difficult people, and me going back into my people pleasing and constantly cajoling and this and you know doing all these things that I used to do before. It made me really aware of it. And I think that giving away your power, cajoling other people, making yourself smaller to appeal to everybody else is a really uncomfortable and very negative thing to do. And I think as we get older, because we feel more invisible, it can be easier to slip into those patterns.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
mean, you mentioned your clients there. Obviously, you've worked with some quite famous people.
Yes.
Um, you must have had a lot of unusual experiences.
I've had, I mean, I also dress men. So, I mean, I still have some fairly well-known clients. And generally now I'm very lucky. I'm in the position where I can pick and choose. But the reason I started doing mindfulness and meditation was because sometimes I would go on set and literally I would feel like crying because of the negativity and the absolute nonsense and the spitefulness and the unpleasantness that would occur. You know, there's cameras everywhere, there's TV people, there's makeup, there's hair, there's everybody rushing around. And as a stylist, you're kind of like the last one. You're the one who's down on the floor doing someone's shoes up. And in fact, one particular celebrity said to me at one point, her feet were cold. And I said to her, well, look, why don't you put these socks on? And she went, wait, everyone, look, Rachel's going to get down and kiss my feet. And I remember I felt I was so cross. I was furious, absolutely furious. But, you know, it made me look at myself and think, do you know what? There's something going on here. A, you're around a lot of narcissists and very strange people. And B, you are actually making yourself feel small because you're going around doing things that actually, I could have just said to her, here's a pair of socks. How about putting those on? Your feet look cold. I could have done that. But instead, I was doing a little bit of people pleasing. I'm not saying that I deserved it, but when I observed it, I did think, okay, that's telling me something. I really need to do more work on myself.
Good level of self-awareness, isn't it? That a lot of people will go straight to just feeling rubbish and
Yes.
really kind of have that separation to actually be able to look at themselves, observe the behavior and be like, okay, what can I do with this?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, notice I'm still talking about it.
Yeah,
I'm not healed.
I don't know. Is that not healed? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I'm teasing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, very much so. But you know, I think being able to use this knowledge and having had that amount of pressure is a really nice thing, actually, now that I'm dealing with the public, because a lot of the women that I get, you know, they're successful women. And when I say successful, that doesn't mean that you have to be the CEO of a company. You're successful if you've managed to keep a household, go to work, look after your children, keep everything together, and still come out the other end sane. That to me is successful. But it has really helped me realize the challenges that people do have. You know, they're very real. Just because something is a problem to one person, it doesn't mean to say that it's not a problem to another. It's just a different level. but they're all problems. And until we can actually be aware of them and be, as you said, self-aware, being in the moment, patting ourselves on the back for the things that we have done rather than worrying about all the things that we haven't done.
Yeah. So
That's
the
one of
message
my
is
big.
very much like, what do you have? What can you do? What have you done? Rather than what isn't there.
Yeah, yeah. And also, how can I get what I think should be there? How can I stop, regroup, and work towards getting those things? Because you can actually do whatever you want. It's just a question of what you want. What do you want to do?
And we forget we've got free will, don't we? It's like,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We're often very busy giving our power away to others or building someone else up. And this is why I keep going on and on and on about this. Take some time for yourself. Find it. Rather than sitting there, looking out the window or looking at TV or something like that. Stop and take some time. Work on yourself. Do the work. That's where you get the power from.
yeah, pay attention to you.
Yeah, very much so.
Resilience isn't about avoiding stress, it's about meeting it with strength. This adaptogenic trio is called our chill mix for a reason. Our award-winning Calm and Collected formula is a favourite among people with busy, anxious brains. I have combined lion's mane, ashwagandha and holy basil with sea greens to ease your racing mind and calm a jittery body. Consistency is key when it comes to adaptogens, so make Calm and Collected part of your evening ritual for calm, resilience and rest.
So, what do you think is one thing that every woman over 45 should stop worrying about?
Ooh, big question. Okay, here we go. So I heard a monk talking about this, and when I heard it, I was like, "Ooh, brutal, brutal." But what he said, and I know this is true, and we all know it's true. Every single one of us, without fail, unless they're somewhere in magic land that we don't know about, every single one of us is going to lose everything in our lives, everything that's important to us, those that we love, the things that we love about ourselves. Every single one of us is going to die one day. Now, if we can just realize that, observe it, know that that really is true. I mean, this isn't some story that's been created. We've seen it. We've all had loved ones who have died. So if we can have that knowledge at the forefront of our minds and know that that will happen one day, so this day is the day that we should really be doing the very, very best that we can do for ourselves. Every morning that we wake up, find something that is wonderful that goes on in our lives. Think of someone who really, truly loves us. Think of someone who we truly love. Think of really good things. Stop worrying about things you don't know anything about, because I don't know what the percentages are. I think it's something like 85% or something quite high. The things that we worry about actually don't happen. And even if they do, they don't happen in the way that we think they're going to happen.
Yeah.
So, what can I say? Stop worrying about worrying.
I think worrying is literally using your imagination to focus on stuff you don't want. Like it's mad when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this is where the law of attraction comes in. When people are talking about this and we're talking about gratefulness and all these things, focus on the things that you want and that you would like to have in your life. Don't focus on all the other rubbish that's already gone. Horrible things happen to us all, and they have. Traumatizing things have happened to us all, and they probably will in the future. Not every single day is going to be absolutely perfect. We know that. But if we can just really be grateful and really be loving to ourselves and for the things that we have surrounded ourselves with, that we do have, if we can do that and live in the moment, stop worrying, we become comfortable in the uncomfortableness. I always say that, and I always say it to people a few times. We can become comfortable in our own discomfort. So get out of the pattern, refocus. It's a little bit like the radio. Change channels, turn the volume down. Don't let those naughty voices overcome you.
I did not think you were going to bring everybody dies into this conversation, but it's valid. It's completely valid because it's true.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's blunt, but it's true. When I heard it, and obviously this is not something that I've made up. I heard a monk talking about this, and I was horrified. I thought, oh, great. We all feel really great now. We're going to do some meditation. But it is true. If we can live our lives as if this were, I mean, well, it's not as if it were. We know that our time is finite. Make those times that we have here, make those really special. Really make those special.
Yeah. There's some philosopher who said something like no one is truly mature until they're reconciled to the fact of their own demise, i.e., none of us is really mature until we accept that we're going to die,
Yeah,
like
yeah, no one's getting out of this alive. I know. So you better get your wardrobe looking really beautiful. Don't save it for Sunday best. Get it on, girls.
What is that thing? Because I grew up, I refused to ever, like when I was a kid, my godmother gave me this pink satin party dress, and I was just like, this is the optimum dress. And I refused to ever take it off, like children do. But then I feel
Oh,
like I really carried that into
yeah.
my life. I never save anything for best, but I keep coming across a lot of people who are like, no, those shoes, I've had them for over a year. I'm waiting for the right occasion to wear them. And I'm like, what would that be?
I know, absolutely, 100%. And I mean, I say this to women, particularly when it comes to event season. What they do is they go rushing out and they'll buy a new pair of shoes and they'll leave them in the cupboard on the day of the event. They'll put them on, they'll go, and they kill them. And of course, the old 80s idea of tight shoes and painkillers, that doesn't work because they haven't got any painkillers with them. When you get something new, wear it. Love it. And if it doesn't fit, then you bought the wrong size. So remeasure yourself and get the right size.
Yeah, that's way more important, isn't it?
Yeah, of
I saw
course.
someone on Instagram taking the bins out in a sequin dress.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I saw a girl, she was like pumping gas or something in the States in a great big sort of ball gown thing. It was absurd, but I get the point, I get the point, and that is the point of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of it on Instagram borders on the exhibitionist in a lot of people, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a way of people expressing themselves. And we don't have to all follow that, but I think it's very interesting to see people who are so free with themselves, so free. It's interesting.
I saw your post on sequins.
Yes,
What
sequence in the
happened?
day.
Yeah, so what happened? Because you were kind of asking the question like whether you should wear sequins like after a certain age, which I'm guessing was a bit rhetorical because you probably believe that you definitely should.
Oh, I'm a sequin person. I mean, literally, I am sequin mad. I always have been. What I was doing in that post, I had a number of dresses, and I said things like, should you, after a certain age, wear sequins? Should you be wearing a push-up bra? All these sorts of things, all the things that I do. Should you be wearing high heels and staggering around? And of course, it was rhetoric, but it is also, should we? We don't have to wear them the way that we wore them before. We can wear them differently. We can reinvent them. But I think the most important thing is to actually say, well, if you feel good in it, of course you should. Yes, you should.
Yeah. What kind of responses did you get to that?
100% responses were, yes, I do that. Yes, I do this. And yes, I will wear this. And yes, I will wear that. And of course, for me, on my page is really very much kind of stylist mindset. I have a lot of people who follow me who already are stylists. They are also women who don't care. They're not worried about what other people think about them. And this so when I say something like that, it's very nice for me to see that much joy and that many people saying, yes, you can do it, go on, do it. But actually, it's the people who don't answer me that I think, I'd really be interested to hear their take on it, because sometimes people will not comment because they just think, oh no, that's not me, and I don't want to say something negative to her. So yeah, it's interesting. I would not say from an Instagram post that that is how the majority of people feel. I wouldn't say that.
Okay, so what do you think they're hiding?
I think they're hiding themselves. They're hiding themselves. They are making themselves less visible because they don't want to attract too much attention. And I think that comes from childhood. Again, as I said, it's from peer pressure, from not really feeling so balanced. And again, the same thing, not knowing where they are at this present time. So, and I think that's a shame. And I think it's really, like I said, it's something that we can do something about. We can, but we just have to want to and find the motivation and notice the differences when we do.
How do you counter the messages from society, which are still kind of there, that women over a certain age, there's that term again, shouldn't do this or that and should be less visible? Because that's hard to come up against.
I think I think it's like anything, it's judgment, isn't it? It's just a question. The way that I counter it is that when I'm dealing with individuals or with groups of people, I try to get them to not be so judgmental of others and also to notice how judgmental they are of themselves. How they speak to themselves has a really big indication of how they will present themselves. So I don't think that we will ever really get to a point where no one will take any notice of what anyone does. I don't think we'll get to that. I think as human beings, it is part of humanity to get all busy with other people and to be judgmental. I think the main thing is really being able to look at yourself and see how you feel about yourself and what you want to do with yourself. I don't think it's really for me to say, oh, someone over 70 shouldn't wear a mini skirt or they should. Depends who the person over 70 is.
Okay, so if everyone listening finished kind of believing one new thing about themselves, what would you like it to be?
Oh, one new thing about themselves. Oof, I mean, this sounds like so cliched, but this business of power, the business of power, can I say two things? Power and awareness, becoming self-aware and also holding on to your own power. These are the things, if you can become aware of it and you can not give it away and use it for the betterment of yourself, the world will be a better place. I know that sounds so woo-woo, but it really is true. The kinder you are to yourself and the more you love yourself and the more work you do on yourself, the better person you will become and you will feel more powerful.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Cool. Cool.
Well, thank you so much for your time. That's been a really interesting chat.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely wonderful.